Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Samantha and I make videos on minimalism and intentional living. And today I want to share with you 95 items that I don't own. Now, a small caveat, I may own these items in the future, but right now I haven't found a need for these items. But I wanted to give this caveat because I don't want to be held to a hard and fast rule and people coming at me in the future being like, oh my God, you said you wouldn't buy this thing and you did. So, you know, there needs to be room for flexibility in minimalism, I feel. And I know a lot of people who watch this channel are on their own minimalism journey. So I'm sharing this list because I thought it might be inspiring, might give you some ideas as to what you could potentially declutter from your life. So let's just go ahead and begin. So the first thing that I don't own is a purse. Instead, I carry all my cards in my phone case over here, and any cards that I don't use, I keep in a rubber band like this. So as you can see, this is my Oyster card over here, my old Oyster card. I've kept this just in case I have some credit on it, but I'm not sure whether I do. With the pandemic and stuff, I haven't been out for ages, haven't used public transport, so I just don't know. Next on the list is USB sticks. I do everything on the cloud. Next, we have DVDs and CDs. I stream everything. Next is something that's related. If I don't have CDs and DVDs, I obviously don't have a CD player or a DVD player. Next is wires and electronic accessories that I don't know the use for. Over time, as you buy electronics, you get accessories and wires that you don't use, and you might store them away safely, and even when you've got rid of the original electronic item, you still have those wires and accessories. The next thing is a wall clock. Now, this is one of those items that I might in the future get. I think it would be really convenient, especially with a 1-year-old. Sometimes I can't always get to my mobile phone to see what the time is, but I'm still making do. Between the TV and the mobile phone, I can kind of know what time it is. The next thing I don't own is decorative pillows for the bed. The reason why is because I find them incredibly fussy and I just can't bear the thought of, you know, taking them off every time I want to lie down and then putting them back on every time I make the bed. We also don't own extra pillows for the bed. Just one set is good enough for us. The next thing we don't own are indoor plants. I think that they'll be too time consuming to take care of, and honestly, I can't be bothered. The only kind of plant that I have is this fake plant over here, and it's just a prop for YouTube videos. The next thing I don't own is a vase. Now, I do find this quite problematic sometimes because I do receive flowers because I like flowers, and what I do right now is I display them in empty sauce jars or empty coffee jars, but honestly they're a little bit too small, so a vase might be something that I get in the future. Now let's move on to stationery. I don't own paper clips, highlighters, a calculator, a hole puncher, or post-it notes. In fact, I find post-it notes incredibly messy and I don't like putting any kind of notes or reminders on them. Instead, I use my notes app on my phone or my notebook. I don't own stress balls. I don't find that they work. I don't own paper bookmarks. I don't have a physical calendar. Instead, I use a spreadsheet where I input the months and the dates and input anything that I have going on. I'll insert a picture of my spreadsheet here. I find this spreadsheet works really, really well for me, and in the future, I might do an organizational video talking about how I organize my life. I also don't own a physical planner. Instead, I use this notebook. I prefer the flexibility of a notebook. And speaking of notebooks, I don't keep old notebooks. What I do is I keep a used notebook for a few months as I transition to the next one. The reason why I keep it around is because I might have notes that I need to refer to, but within a few months, I've transferred everything over that I think is important, and then I get rid of the old notebook. For work, I don't use a second screen. I know a lot of people like using 2 screens, but I'm okay with just the one. I don't own an apron for cooking. To be honest, I don't cook enough to justify it, and also my loungewear isn't that nice that I feel that I need to protect it. We also don't own a butter dish. It's just a little bit too fancy for me. I think the idea of it sounds really, really good, but I prefer storing butter in the package that it comes in. I also don't own a toast rack. Sticking with the cutlery theme, we don't have matching saucers and teacups in order to give people tea and coffee when they come around to visit. Instead, we use a motley crew of mugs that we have. To be honest, this is something that I might want to change in the future. I think it does look really, really lovely when you've got matching teacups and saucers to give to people. John Lewis have a really, really good own brand range called Any Day that they've recently launched, and it's really affordable, and also IKEA do very affordable cutlery. So I might look into that in the future. And I just want to shout out Any Day a little bit more because I bought Jasmine, my 1-year-old's, cots from there, and they were half the price of standard cots. Most cots cost, that's a mouthful, Most cots cost around £300 to £350. The anyday cots I got for about £150 or £200, and I bought 2 cots, one for my mum's house and one for our flat, so it saved me a lot of money. I don't own a deck of cards. I know some people love games nights and things like that, but it's not really my cup of tea, so in the similar vein, we don't have puzzles or board games. I don't own physical business cards or a business card holder. The industry that I work in, which is basically social media, my full-time job is head of video at a leading parenting company. We do everything online, so I don't need physical business cards. I don't keep old takeaway boxes. In fact, I cringe at the waste of plastic takeaway boxes. We recycle them, and I just have a set of Tupperware that I use. I don't try and use the old takeaway boxes as Tupperware because really they're not up to the job. And I have noticed a trend when it comes to takeaway boxes that people are moving more and more to paper and cardboard, which is great. And we've reduced down the amount of takeaway we order anyway, so lots of takeaway boxes isn't as big a problem as it used to be. I don't have extra makeup bags. I used to actually have quite a lot of extra makeup bags because I used to blog for Superdrug, so I got sent a lot of freebies, but that was many years ago and I've used up all of those makeup bags or given them away, so now I've only got the one. I don't own any ribbons for wrapping. I find them quite fussy, so my wrapping is super basic. I don't keep hold of any electronics that don't work, so hair dryers, old computers, old phones. I get rid of them straight away. I just collect them up and then I give it to my husband to drive to the dump. The next thing I don't own are winter clothes that aren't warm. I feel the cold like nobody else I know. I even warm up my water in the winter, and I sometimes wear a scarf and hat indoors. So anything that's not going to be warm is simply not going to suffice. I don't own any old linen that I don't like using, especially during the pandemic as we've been home more. Just having a nice home and nice things around you does make things a lot more comfortable. So at the moment we have 2 sets of bedding, which I really love, and anything that's old or faded or stained, they've all gone. The next thing I try not to keep are gifted items I don't like. Now this could hurt people's feelings if I give away items that they've gifted to me, so what I tend to do is I make sure that my close family and friends know exactly what I want a long time before birthdays or Christmas rolls up. The next thing I don't own are too many extra hangers. I do keep a couple around just in case I need them, and my hangers don't match. I'm not one of those minimalists who really adhere to the minimalist aesthetic of all white and grey. That's not really my kind of vibe. I do like it, but I like a little bit of color as well. So if you were to ask me about my interior design aesthetic, it would be a fusion between the minimalist aesthetic and also Lorelai Gilmore's house from Gilmore Girls. I think it's so cozy and so cute, and I will be filming an apartment tour so you can see kind of what my style is. I like warm and cozy with a little dash of Scandinavian minimalism. I don't own any colorful makeup or anything that's a little bit outlandish. I actually prefer a very neutral color palette. I've been using the same makeup now for years. They work for me and I just stick to what I know now. I'm not in the mood to experiment, which I used to be when I was in my 20s. But I'm in a different phase in my life now, and it's just not that important to me to, you know, look a bit like a rainbow. Although I admire it on other people, it's not something that I personally want to do anymore. I don't own a curling iron. If I do want to create curls on the odd occasion, I just use my GHD straighteners, which I've had for the last 15 years. I don't keep loyalty cards that I don't use. So if I go into a shop that I don't frequent, for example, I will just refuse their loyalty card because I know I'm not going to use it. I don't own any old textbooks from my university days. I'm not one for keeping hold of things that, you know, belong to a different part of my life, different time in my life. I did, however, give those textbooks to my father, who had them in his library for the longest time because he had a real sentimental attachment to them. My dad was a lawyer and he was really pleased that I was following in his footsteps when I went to university and studied law. I don't own any nostalgia from my childhood except for one teddy bear that my dad bought me when I was young. That was like my first teddy bear. The reason why we don't have a lot of nostalgia is because my sister and I were both born here in the UK, but we went back to Bangladesh because my parents are from Bangladesh when we were in our teens, and we spent a few years in Bangladesh. I did my O-levels and A-levels there, and then I came back to study university in the UK, and I've been here ever since. So that was back in the early 2000s, so almost 20 years ago now. Because we did that move, we didn't really keep a lot of things from our childhood except for that one teddy bear that my dad bought me. And obviously, if you've been following my channel, you guys know that my dad recently passed away, so it's it was sentimental to me then, and now it's even more special and even more sentimental. And he also bought my daughter a very similar teddy bear before he went away. So you know, it's just a lovely thing that I have. I don't keep socks that have lost their partner. Similarly, I don't keep earrings that have lost their partner. I also don't have any CDs with software on them. The last time I probably downloaded software off a CD was in the early 2000s. I don't own a bedside lamp. I actually don't think that the light a bedside lamp gives off is enough for bedtime reading. I much prefer my overhead lights, and once I'm done, I just turn them off. I also don't own a globe, although I do think in the future it would be fun to own one. And when Jasmine is older, I'll probably get one and the two of us can look up different countries together, which I think would be quite fun. But for right now, I don't own a globe. I don't own dressing gowns to wear around the house. I much prefer joggers and hoodies. I do, however, have 2 towel robes that my sister gave me when I was getting married. It was a Mr. and Mrs. towel robe, and I do use them for when I get out of the shower because they dry me off so quickly. That's a great tip. I mean, I don't need to use a towel ever for my body, but I don't have a dressing gown that I wear around the house. Just those 2 for when I get out of the shower. I don't own any bath bombs. The idea of running a bath and then cleaning the bath before and after just puts me off. I always end up taking a shower for convenience's sake. I don't own any sheet masks. I'm very suspicious of putting anything new on my face because I don't want to break out. In my 20s, I used to experiment a lot with different types of makeup and skincare, and I really found that it broke me out a lot. So now I keep things super simple. My skincare is just a bit of Nivea cream and that's it. I don't own a juicer because I find them a bit of a health food fad. I've got nothing against people who use them if you do use them, but I know myself well enough to know that I won't be juicing because I'll be hungry. I don't own a reusable straw. I just drink straight from the cup or mug or glass. I just don't see myself being bothered to actually go and get my reusable straw and have my drink, although I know a lot of people use it for staining, especially like when they drink coffee and stuff. I have 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day, and to be honest, I'm just not bothered enough to go and get a reusable straw, so I can't justify having one for myself. I don't own mason jars. Now, I don't know if anybody has been watching YouTube for long enough to remember that there was a real craze of having mason jars and having your lunch in mason jars and taking it to work. I used to find them super impractical because you really couldn't mix up your food that much. Everybody made it in layers, their salads in layers, and it looked really pretty, but it wasn't even a lot of food that can fit into a mason jar, so I found them super impractical, so I've never really ever owned a mason jar. I don't keep hold of pretty boxes or tins for future storage options because I just know from experience that you could be holding on to those things for ages until a suitable opportunity to use them arises. I don't own any fancy dress items. I did a declutter of my wardrobe and got rid of any of those things because I just realized I'm not going to dress up as Supergirl again. I don't own anything out of date, from medicine, condiments to makeup. I really try and keep on top of that stuff. I also don't have any stuff related to do with hobbies that I no longer intend to keep up. So for example, for the longest time I was learning how to speak French, and my French is okay, like it's actually really bad. But I also know that I don't have the time to dedicate to learning French. Maybe later in my life I will, but right now is not the time. And I don't want my old French textbooks kind of mocking me and making me feel guilty because I don't have the time to dedicate to it. It's the same with musical instruments. In my wildest fantasies, I would be training to become a concert pianist, but is that really going to happen? No. So I don't need a small keyboard looking at me, making me feel guilty. I don't own any perfume I don't like the smell of. I find it hard enough to remember to use the fancy, nice stuff that I have, let alone all the stuff that I don't really like. So I've gotten rid of all of those things. I've decluttered them and given them away. I also don't own any deodorant. To be honest, I explained how cold I am. I don't sweat very often. When I do work up a sweat, say I'm exercising, then I shower straight away, and deodorant is something that I've really never needed. I don't own any picture frames, but again, this is one of those items that could change because I think a few picture frames with pictures of our family would be really lovely, and I also just mentioned my father, so a nice picture of my father displayed in my home would be something I know that I would absolutely love. So at the moment, I currently don't own any picture frames, but that could very well change. I don't own a toolbox. On the odd occasion that I might need an Allen key or a screwdriver, I'll ask my sister. I don't own high heels. I've long ago made peace with the fact that I can't wear high heels higher than 2 inches. My feet are very small. I have only size 3.5 feet. 3.5 is my UK shoe size. I'm not that tall, but in relation to my foot size, I think I'm tall. I'm over 5'4", just a shade below 5'5", and I think the surface area of my feet aren't big enough to carry the weight across my height. Now, this is a theory that I've made up For myself, I don't know if that's correct, but what I do know is that I simply cannot wear high heels and I'm not going to risk an ankle injury and try it. I do own kitten heels and heels up to 2 inches, but nothing above that. I don't own a sewing kit. On the odd occasion where I do need to sew something, I'll just ask to borrow my mum's sewing kit. I don't own any broken items. If something does break and I don't fix it within the month, and then I get rid of it. And the reason why I know that a month is a long time is because I'm one of those people who's really impatient to make sure that everything is how I want it, and if something's broken I go crazy to fix it, and if I've not fixed it within a month then it's proof to me that I simply don't need that item. I no longer own any miniature toiletries. Now if you followed me when I did my low buy no buy year, you would know that I used to get my husband, who used to travel a lot for work, to bring back miniature toiletries from his hotel trips, and I would use them instead of full-size products. But I no longer do that. Number one, my husband doesn't travel as much as he used to, and also the products were awful. They did a number on my skin, they did a number on my hair, and I just thought, you know what, it's really not worth it. I don't need to save money that badly. I'd rather invest a little in my skincare, in my hair care. Nothing extreme, as I said. For my skincare, it's only Nivea. For my hair, I invest in like better shampoos now ever since I've had Jasmine. I don't own any torn underwear. Again, I think life is too short. I want to be enjoying the clothes that I'm wearing. My underwear is super basic. It's nothing to write home about, but they're definitely not torn. I don't own any trendy clothes. I go for things that I think are timeless and that will last me for a long, long time. So for example, things like biker shorts that Kim Kardashian is wearing is simply not something that I would ever purchase for myself. I don't own books that I won't read. This bookshelf behind me has my entire collection of physical books, and when I do purchase new books, they're all ebooks in order to save on space. I don't keep storage solutions that don't work. Even with the best of intentions, you can sometimes make a mistake and purchase an item of storage that just doesn't work for your space. So I've learned from experience to try not to hold on to those items and try to crowbar them into your life if they really aren't working. So I just end up giving them away or selling them. I don't own any costume jewellery. In terms of jewellery, I like to keep things pretty simple. I always wear this one ring and my engagement ring and my wedding rings, and sometimes I'll wear simple earrings like this, and that's pretty much it. I don't own any damaged or stained placemats. This is a real bugbear for me because it really puts me off my food to eat something off of a damaged or stained placemat. I do find the wooden placemats the best because they are the sturdiest. I don't keep apps on my phone that I don't use. I just do regular declutters of my phone. It's habit for me. It's not a big deal. I'll just get rid of apps that I'm not using while I'm watching the TV. I don't keep hold of extra buttons from clothing that I've long ago decluttered. At the moment, I only have one extra button, and that's for my coat. I don't own too many cleaning rags. I have one for our bathrooms and one for my kitchen. I don't own any of those yellow dust cloths. I absolutely hate the way that dust accumulates on them, and I haven't found an effective way of getting rid of them other than hand washing them under the tap, which to me is just way too much effort. So I've gotten rid of them completely. I don't own any old toothbrushes. The reason why I used to keep hold of old toothbrushes was because I wanted to use them when I cleaned in between tiles, but honestly I just invested in a grab brush and that worked so much better. I don't keep hold of old cans of leftover paint because they go a bit funny after some time. So if I do want to do touch-ups, I buy the smaller cans of Dulux, and because you've got a smaller amount, there's less waste. I don't keep currency from countries that I know that I'm not going to revisit. So for example, I know that I'm not going to revisit Egypt anytime soon. No offense to Egypt, absolutely loved my experience, but there are other countries that I want to see. So when it comes to currency that you're not going to use, you can actually put them in donation buckets in airports because they'll accept currency from all over the world. I don't own an umbrella. Now in London, it does rain, but it doesn't rain that heavily, so I can pretty much get away with a hat. Saying that, I have had experience of really good umbrellas in the past. I've only really had two really good umbrellas. One was a I Love Manchester umbrella, and it was long and it was really, really good. It used to be the sturdiest thing ever. And I had another electronic one where you just press the button and it would open up, and it was from Marks and Spencer. And although I've rebought umbrellas from Marks and Spencer, nothing has ever matched that quality of the one that I just spoke about. So I'd love to invest in a really, really good umbrella, but they're hard to find, and London can be pretty windy sometimes. sometimes, and I find that not very many umbrellas can withstand gusts of wind, so that's why I prefer to just use a hat. I don't own fancy matching pyjama sets, not that I don't think that they look nice, but I like to keep my loungewear pretty affordable, and also I know that if I had fancy pyjama sets like that, I probably wouldn't be able to keep them nice. Maybe if I lived a different life, had a different lifestyle, I would be able to, but right now that's not the case. I also don't own a laundry hamper anymore. I've got a set of grey drawers and the bottom 2 drawers are empty, so I just chuck my laundry in there, and when they fill up, I just do my laundry. I don't own any baseball caps. I used to get given them randomly at events, but now I just refuse them because I've never worn them. I don't own any ice trays. I absolutely hate ice. I hate the idea of putting ice in any of my drinks. I can't stand the cold. So ice trays, really not for me. I don't keep hold of old paperwork, so old utility bills, pay slips, bank statements. I have them all accessible on the cloud, and I really have no need for paper versions. I don't own a dedicated nappy bag. To be honest with you, my one backpack is enough for everything that I need. I did get given a couple of nappy bags when I was pregnant, and I just ended up giving them away to better homes. I don't own any baking equipment. I never bake, and if the mood does strike me once every 3 or 4 years, then I will borrow my sister's baking equipment. I don't own any scrunchies. I don't own any bath mats. I like to keep my bathroom floor pretty clear. I don't own any pencils, just pens. I don't own any posters. There was a time where I used to love posters. My entire bedroom would be covered with posters of space. I'm really into space and science. I actually have another channel here on YouTube. It's my main channel. It's called London City Girl, and it's dedicated to educational content, and there's a lot of videos about space on there. So I'm still a really big fan of science and space and the universe and all of that kind of stuff, but I've kind of outgrown the need for having posters strewn across my bedroom. I don't have any tights or stockings that I don't wear. That's a real running theme in my wardrobe. If I don't wear it, I don't keep it. I don't own any seeds. I'm definitely not green-fingered at all, and I don't have any inclination to learn. Maybe in a different time of my life, later in life, I might, take up gardening, who knows, but right now it's not for me. I don't keep hold of any takeaway menus. You can get everything online. I also don't keep hold of any magazine clippings. If there is something that I want to refer back to in the future, what I do is I take a picture of that article and then I upload it onto the cloud for future reference. And finally, the last thing I don't own anymore are candles that I won't burn. Over time, I seem to have accumulated lots of candles, and I think I was gifted quite a lot of them, but really the life that I'm leading right now is super hectic. I have a 1-year-old, a full-time job. Unfortunately, as I explained, my father passed away and I'm dealing with his estate. I also have a small business to run. So really lighting a candle and creating an atmosphere is something that doesn't happen very often, and I just don't want those candles sitting there forever. So I've given away lots of my candles, and I've just kept this one. This Yankee candle is from my mother-in-law. I absolutely love it. It's the black cherry scent, and it's something that I take real pleasure in. So this is the only candle that I have. And that brings me to the end of my list of 95 things that I don't own. That was a lot to get through, and oh my god, my voice. So I really need a break. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!